And of course, we are talking about the G20 summit that is being opened today. And here we can see the situation at the Apurva Kempinski lobby, where the red carpet has been rolled out. Heads of delegations and officials are welcomed by President of Indonesia, Joko Widodo. Now, the event is scheduled to happen until 9:30 local time.
All right, as we continue to await the arrival of the delegations, this is currently the scene that is taking place, and obviously a full day of activities that have been planned out over the next 2 days here in Nusa Dua.
Yeah.
Now, Indonesia will soon be holding a grand celebration, the G20 Presidency. The highlight of the event itself, namely the G20 summit, is being held today and tomorrow, November the 15th and 16th in Nusa Dua, Bali. So what exactly is the G20 or Group of 20? Let's find out.
Now, the G20, or a Group of 20, is a multilateral cooperation forum consisting of 19 main countries and the European Union, or the EU. G20 members represent more than 60% of the world's population, 75% of global trade volume, and 80% of the world's gross domestic product, or GDP.
The G20 members comprise of developed and developing countries with middle and high income levels. It was initially limited to a meeting of finance ministers and central bank governors. However, since 2008 and 2010, the G20 summit has also been attended by heads of state.
And here we can see guests are arriving as well.
Indonesia officially became the G20 presidency for the first time, and during its time as the G20 presidency, Indonesia carried the theme, Recover Together, Recover Stronger, which reflects the spirit of recovering with the world. The spirit is reflected in the logo of the G20 Indonesia presidency. Now, let's have a closer look at the meaning of the logo.
If you look at the logo, it has a red and white base color, and the design, which combines gunungan silhouettes and kawing batik motif, clearly showing the Indonesian identity. The gunungan motif depicts life in the universe, especially the movement toward a new chapter. It reflects optimism and enthusiasm to recover from the pandemic and enter a new chapter of green and inclusive development. Meanwhile, the kawung batik reflects the spirit of being useful to others.
The logo also appears sulur, or vines that continue to grow. Sulur depicts the spirit of green, inclusive, and sustainable recovery, the enthusiasm to take advantage of the momentum of the presidency to ensure that the world builds a better future.
And at the bottom of the logo, there are the words G20 Indonesia with a dark blue color, which represents Indonesia's identity as a maritime country.
Now we can see more guests arriving. So, as you can see, arriving now are guests of the G20 summit. This is Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who is the Director General of the World Health Organization, health is also a pillar of discussion in the G20 summit, of course.
Correct. It's in the tagline, recover together, recover stronger. And obviously the pandemic was and continues to be a big part of this G20 summit. And WHO playing a big role and a pivotal role in helping us recover and come out of this pandemic as well. And we continue to see the president and his staff greeting guests as they continue to arrive in the electric vehicles that we have highlighted on this program several times.
Yeah. Other than Joe Biden, of course, he had to bring his own car. So arrived before is the managing director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva. IMF also plays a very important role in the recovery of post-pandemic recovery of the nations globally.
Obviously, yeah.
Yes. And more guests are arriving. That again is supposed to finish, so the arrival and official reception is supposed to finish at 9:30 today.
Okay.
Interesting to mention that there are also very interesting invited guests. I mean, as of now, we've seen the invited guests arriving first.
Yes.
We've seen the Director General of WHO and of the IMF, and we also have the President of ADB, Masatsugu Asakawa, coming, and the Prime Minister of Cambodia, Mr. Hun Sen, is also coming, as they have just ended the ASEAN summit and handed over ASEAN's chairmanship to Indonesia. And Ratu Inoke Kubuabola is also a special envoy of Fiji, is coming. So there are a lot of very interesting invited guests, including one that I was not expecting, that is Thomas Bach, the president of the International Olympic Committee.
Right. Many of these invited guests will be at the G20 either online or in person. For example, on the list as well is Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine. He'll be attending virtually, and most of these invited guests will be attending as observers at the G20 summit. However, it does not diminish the importance of their role or their presence at the summit itself. As you mentioned, Kai, a lot of these issues are issues that we have been dealing with over the past year, and it is important that they are in attendance even as an observer. And I believe the invited guests arrival will then be followed by all the heads of state. They are
Yes.
doing this in a particular order as well.
Look at those electric cars, though, Paul.
Yes. It's very.
They're
it's a
stealing the
nice car.
show.
Yeah.
I'm definitely distracted, guys, because you know me and EVs. Been wanting to
Electric
get one, and
vehicles.
now there's a whole bunch of them in Bali, which may be up for sale after the G20.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe they will
Maybe you
auction it
should
off.
be. You should become a head of state, Paul.
Yeah.
You know, if
And-
you are curious and you're watching this and you're curious what electric vehicles were made available for all the delegates of the G20 summit that is happening in the next over the next 2 days, and you can look up at our Instagram and our social media at See Today News, and we have the details over there. I scrolled through it and I found it very interesting.
About the electric vehicle?
Yes,
That's
lots of
interesting.
different. So each, so leaders of state, ministerial levels get different cars.
I see.
Oh, very cool.